Hello everyone, it's me, Tafara, coming to you today to talk about something that I've been learning about, the concept of the courts of heaven. There are a series of books that were written by author Robert Henderson, and he has done a phenomenal job. I've only read, I guess, 2 books, and then I'm actually learning from a 3rd book. So I'm actually here today to talk about the 3rd book, which is this idea of issuing restraining orders against the adversary and his representatives. If you get who I'm talking about, aka Satan, aka the devil. So I for much of my life, I, kind of struggled with the concept of the devil and all of that. And I know the Bible is a wonderful guide, especially to know Jesus and, understand God better. But it wasn't probably until very recently that I actually came to really understand just how evil works, literally, like how it operates. And actually I'm beginning to start to learn some of the rules, that are at play when we're talking about evil and how it gains the authority, and that was a whole new concept, that evil has the authority to do what it does. And I remember reading things in, Revelations, but to be quite honest, I tried to avoid Revelations and reading it for much of my life, because I think as a child, it was quite scary. And so I just never really went back into that. So as life would have it, I've had the opportunity recently to grow closer to God and to Jesus. And so I'm just wanting to share the information that I learned that, has literally freed me from quite a few situations, that some of which I think I got myself into, but others, were quite frankly on my bloodline, things people call generational curses, and it's not to say that we don't have generational blessings and, gifts that are passed down, but, on the same token, I would say as the law of polarity would have it, or the principle of polarity would have it, there are also curses. And even science is, really kind of backing this up, showing that trauma, and things like that can be passed down from, I've heard 7 generations, I've heard 14 generations, so we know that it's in the blood. And quite frankly, these are the things that we are struggling against, these inadvertent covenants that were made by our ancestors, and sometimes by us, and just, in our ignorance and not knowing what we are saying, because, words can very well be spells. So anyway, I just also want to remind you of, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, and I'll paraphrase it, for it's not flesh and blood that we struggle against, but, powers and principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. Again, that's a paraphrase. So, but check it out. It's oftentimes it's not what we believe it is on the surface. There are things, entities operating at deeper levels. So without further ado, here are 10 of the restraining orders. This is not an exhaustive list, but here are 10 restraining orders that I've learned about thus far. And I'll actually add an 11th one there, because it came to me as I was doing this video. So the first one is a restraining order for protecting territory. And this would be, like geographic territory. So potentially a area or even a nation, you know. And there are actual examples of this in the Bible with Samuel. Let's see, and I'll get into the specifics in later videos, but this one I just wanted to give a high-level overview. The second one is restraining ungodly behavior. That didn't blip, that was my battery. The third one is restraining enemies of the gospel of Jesus Christ. The fourth one is restraining Satan, which is one that only God can issue. The fifth one is restraining orders for the protection of servants of God. The sixth one is restraining the spirit of premature death. And the seventh one is restraining orders to restrain Mother Nature. So you think about hurricanes and tornadoes and, you know, things like that, you know. And we've all seen those stories where, you know, there's a major national or natural, well, maybe national and natural disaster. And, you know, there are a few people who are spared where all around them, you know, houses are leveled or gone, you know. So I would argue that's not luck, you know, that's God. Let's see, the eighth one is to restrain the righteous from sinning. And the ninth one is to preserve destiny or God's purpose. And I would encourage everyone to at least consider this one, because any hindrance that you're experiencing to fulfilling what you believe to be your divine purpose, you know, that would you know, be a perfect example of a place where you could request, you know, this type of restraining order. Because it's not likely that it's by chance that you're struggling. So just keep that in mind. Ephesians 6:12. And let's see, the 10th one here is restraining sexual predators. And this is one that, you know, I personally will be requesting on behalf of others once I learn how to do that. You know, and I think of human trafficking and in particular child trafficking, the challenges that we're having in the United States, but really all over the world. I will be, you know, using this and really becoming like the persistent widow. You know, I think it's in the book of Luke that Jesus, you know, tells the disciples about, you know, this widow who goes to an unjust judge, and, you know, she really makes herself a nuisance to him, so much so that he decides, not because he's just, but because he just doesn't want to be bothered with her anymore, that he would grant her, you know, justice. And you know, we serve a just God, so certainly, you know, God can, you know, grant our petitions that are, you know, are righteous. So and I said I'd mention a bonus one, and that is a restraining order against the spirit of poverty. And I hadn't considered that, you know, poverty is not necessarily the result of, you know, accident or, you know, bad, you know, unfortunate circumstances. I hadn't considered that it was, you know, connected to an evil spirit, and there's scripture for that. But again, I'll get into the scripture for these in later videos. So do let me know which ones you're most interested in learning about. I don't have to do them in any particular order. So I hope that you find that information helpful. And just like with anything, you know, Robert Henderson, I'll actually drop a link to, I know he's got YouTube videos as well. So, you know, and I'll make sure I reference the proper title of the book, issuing restraining orders from the courts of heaven. And yes, just let me know like which ones you're most interested in, and I'll pick up in the series from there. So thanks again for tuning in, and I hope that you all stay blessed. Take care.